Hi everyone, my name is Shanthini, and Pastor Andrew invited me to share with you one of my favorite passages from the Bible, and I'm also going to walk you through why this passage means a lot to me. Okay, before I share, one disclaimer. Um, my hope and desire is that as I share what God's placed in my heart, that this message will not be about me, that it will point you to Christ and the beauty of what God has accomplished on the cross for us. Okay, on to my favorite passage. It's actually a verse. Most of you would know it by heart. It's John chapter 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. This verse is a promise to everyone who believes in Jesus, the promise of everlasting life. For me to be able to understand and fully grasp this promise, I needed to wrestle and grapple with two things. One, who I am. Two, what Jesus did on the cross. First, who I am. Is of all the requirements that God has for us, Jesus says they all come under these two. One, love your God. Two, love God's people. Have I always treated God's people, his image bearers, people created in his image, with the love and dignity and the respect that they deserve? No, I fall short. Every single day I fall short. You just have to ask my children how many times I've snapped at them today, how many times I've been impatient and said things that I've regretted. And God being just and fair, I do not expect him to turn a blind eye to my sins against his people, against people he has created in his own image. And it would be just and fair for God to punish me. But God is also loving and merciful. And this is where what Jesus did on the cross matters. Jesus being Son of God, Jesus being God himself, for him to humbly come down and go through the pain and suffering. You can read in Isaiah chapter 53 verse 5 and 6 that he was pierced for our transgressions, for the most divine God to humbly come down and to go through this pain and suffering and to die on the cross and to rise again. At the cross, I see a most perfect humility, most perfect self-sacrifice, most perfect justice, perfect love, perfect mercy, everything God himself. And why this matters to me, why this was, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Why this matters to me. A year back, I was going through a health problem. On one end, it could be as simple as infection. On the other end, it could be a sinister tumor. And there were all these tests done to find out if it was an infection, and the doctors couldn't find any infection. So there were further tests being done, and I was waiting for further tests. By the way, I don't have this problem anymore. It's not an sinister tumor. So as I was waiting for my cystoscope to be done, I was faced with the fact that my life could end sooner rather than later. Um, and it was most painful. I wouldn't deny that. The thought of leaving uh, my parents with that pain, and the thought of leaving my young children, that brought a lot of anxiety. But I did have peace. Peace knowing that when I die, if my life had to be taken from me, and when I face death, and when I face God, yes, I would tremble. He is a majestic God. I would be in awe and wonder. But I fully trust in my Savior that I would enter, be with God in His, among Him, um, in His holy place, not because of what I have done, not because of my goodness, not because of my goodness and God's goodness, but because of Jesus' righteousness, because of what Christ accomplished on that cross for me 2,000 years ago. And for this reason, He'll always be my King. And to be able to have this assurance, He'll always be my Savior. And for this reason, I want my friends, my family, my children, and because of Jesus, I can say this, because of Him, I can say this, I want my enemies to have this blessed assurance. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Thank you.